Alright, CNT120, Chapter 2 Lab. The first part we did all of our cabling infrastructure and packet tracer. Part 2 of the lab, we're going to start documentation. We're going to do a network diagram that would show kind of like the logical side of packet tracer. That's what we're going to do first. So we are going to duplicate this diagram that I have here with a program called draw.io or diagrams.net to learn how to use that program and realize I can actually create these network diagrams for a network that I would be working on. So to do that, I'm going to connect draw.io or diagrams.net to my Google Drive. So I'm going to open up my Google Drive here. So I'm going to go to Google Apps. For me, it'll be Drive for Employees. You would do Drive for Students. Once I'm here, I'm going to go to my drive. And you notice I already have a CNT120 folder created. You might want to do the same. You would do New and then New folder and name it like CNT120. In my 120 folder, I have additional folders, but I have one for labs, and then you might want to create one that has like CNT, Chapter 2 lab, that kind of thing, so you can keep your files organized. I'm going to go into my Chapter 2 lab samples. This is where I do my samples for things like this podcast. Once I'm there, now I'm going to connect my draw.io or diagrams.net to my Google Drive. To do that, I'll say New. Down here, I have some things already connected, and you probably do too. As I go down to More, you'll see on mine that draw.io shows up. Well, yours probably does not yet. So you're going to go down here to Connect More Apps, and we're going to search for, up here on the top, we're going to search for draw.io and see if that pops up for us. Okay, we're going to search for that, and there it is, draw.io. Once upon a time, this was called draw.io, then it was called diagrams.net, and recently they started calling it draw.io again. So if you see me reference both here, it's a just in case the name toggle goes back and forth. So we will click on this, and you'll do the option to install it. You'll see mine's already installed, but highlight this, and then where my uninstall is, there will be an install button for you. Click that install. You might need to answer a couple questions to give others authorization to connect this app to your folder. You'll just need to say yeah, or accept. And once that's done, now when I go to New, I have an option down here for draw.io, and that will allow me to draw a network diagram and drop it right into my Google Drive. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a new drawing, give it a name, and then we're going to create that network diagram that I have on the next page of the lab. So here, let's do New, and I'm going to go to draw.io. And again, you might need to do a couple OKs and authorize to get your files from draw.io to save into your Google Drive, so just go through those. You might need to even enable pop-ups, so do that, say OK. And once I'm here, I'm going to give it a name like CNT120 Chapter 2 Lab Diagram 1. And I'm going to leave that draw.io extension on there. So I'm going to come up here and leave that draw.io extension on there. And I'm going to replace this right here with that. And since this is my second version, I'm going to call it version 2 because I have one in there previously. So I'll call this in version 2 just for me, and I'll do create. And we're going to leave it blank diagram. We're going to put in what we want. And now I have a drawing space, if you will, some tools for my drawing, and then over here on the left will be the different icons that I'm using. Okay. Now, one of the first things we'll do is we're going to need to connect some shapes, some icons that we can use. So over on the left, we'll scroll down here to the bottom. If I scroll down here to the bottom, there should be a More Shapes option down here. I think mine's being hidden right now, so I'm going to slide it over. There we go. I have a More Shapes option right here. I'm going to do More Shapes, and this allows me to connect all kinds of different icons to my drawing tablet. I'm going to make sure I pick Cisco. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to make sure I pick Network. I'm going to make sure I pick Rack. These are the common ones we're going to end up using in here. So I will select those, and then I'll say Apply. Okay, that'll add all these icon shapes to my options over here. Now that I have that, we are going to basically recreate this. Some people worry the first time you're learning something, usually, you know, like I'm thinking like an art class or something, the teacher goes, well, you know, kind of do what I'm doing, draw what I'm drawing to kind of learn the technique or the style. That's what you're going to do here. You're basically going to duplicate this drawing to learn how to use this drawing program and some of the common shapes for things. I have a couple reminders here about shapes and doing things. Pay attention to those. I'm going to try to show you those as I'm doing that. So what I actually tried to do is I tried to put the label here of this icon. If I actually search for like Cisco Cloud, I should see this icon. If I search for Cisco Firewall, I should see that icon. So what I'm going to do is over here on the left, I'm going to search for Cisco Cloud. And when I do, I get some options that pop up here. I can do more results. It'll give me more. And in here, I do actually see that little cloud icon. So I'm going to click and drag that out into my workspace out here. There we go. And then I'm going to throw the label under it right now, Cisco Cloud Internet. So if I double click on this, I see a little drawing icon show up. So I will put in here the label of Cisco, if I can type today, Cisco Cloud. And I'm going to hit the enter key, and I'm just going to put parentheses internet. That way I know that that's typically the icon for internet. Let's get the firewall and the router on here. So we're going to do Cisco Firewall. And again, here's my little brick wall. That's the icon we typically use for firewall. Double click. Let's put the Cisco Firewall in here. And I'm going to do Cisco router. I'm going to get a couple icons on here, and then we'll start worrying about connecting them. I'm going to do more results again. And if I hold my pointer over an icon, you'll see it pops up as to what it is. So if I'm looking for something in particular, you know, if I were looking for a router that let's see if there's one down here. Here's a voice router. I would grab that icon if I needed that in my plan. But I'm just going to do the general router icon. And again, double click, and we'll do Cisco router. There we go. So we have the first couple pieces on here. Let's now start connecting the dots. To do that, if I hover over the icon, you see little arrows show up top, bottom, left, right. If I just click on one of those and drag it down to what I want to connect it to, when it lights up, I just let go and it connects the two. Okay? And I can do the same thing here. Drag it to here, and it connects the two. Well, if you're like me, those zigzag lines are like, that's not what I want. So I'm going to click on one of them to highlight it. And over on the right, I get some options. Okay? These are the style options. I can change the color, I can change the thickness, and I can even change the line style. So I'm going to go here to where I see the zigzag, and I'm going to go to a straight line. And I see arrows in there. I kind of want to get rid of those. So I'm going to go to where it has the arrow drop down, and I'm going to do none, and it'll get rid of the arrow. Now I have just a straight line connecting the two, which looks kind of like it should. Now that they're connected, if I move things around, those lines will maintain their connection, which is what I want. I'll fix this one. I'll do the same thing. I'll highlight. I'll get rid of the zigzag. I'll get rid of the arrow. And what I'm also going to do this time is I'm going to do set as default. So for my drawing, it's now going to do straight lines with no arrows. So I don't have to keep resetting that. Excellent. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to search for these and plop them on the map and connect them. So let me get a couple on here, and we will keep going. We'll do Cisco, work, group, switch. And I should see that guy here. We will put him out there. Double click, Cisco, work, group, switch. We need printer and file server. So Cisco printer. There's our printer. We'll plop that over here. Double click Cisco printer. And we'll do Cisco file server. There we go. We'll plop that there. Cisco file server. And now I will connect them, and you'll notice they're connected to the switch. Okay. Most things are going to go into a switch port because that is how we get access to a network. The router is my gateway in and out. I don't usually connect much of anything to a router for that purpose, as well as the routers usually do not have many ports. There's usually like 2 ports on a router, an in and an out. So I'm going to connect my printer right to my switch here. and I'm going to connect my file server right to the switch as well. Boom. And since I did that default setting, those are going straight lines for me, which is what I want. There we go. Now we're off and rolling. Let's get some phones on here, and let's do some shortcuts. We're going to go Cisco IP phone. And there's my symbol. Let's put this on the screen. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And let's be smart. Let's put a label on this, Cisco IP phone. And let's work smarter, not harder. I'm going to highlight this. I'll do a Control-C, or I can do right-click copy, one of the two. And I'm going to do Control-V or right-click paste. And now I can get a couple things out here very quickly. Okay, now I'll connect this. In a business environment, you will typically have IP phones connected right into a switch port. That is fairly typical. The phones actually have more than one port in to allow this. That reduces the amount of cabling connections you would need to network. Let's now do the PCs. So we'll do Cisco PC. And we're just going to grab, there we go, that's a good one. And again, let's label that Cisco PC. And let's do Control-C, Control-V, Control-V. And we'll connect these up. This starts going pretty quick now when I start using my, my drawing techniques, if you will. Now we need our access point and a laptop. So we'll do Cisco access point. There he is right there. Again, access points are going to typically be connected into a switch port. Two reasons. One, that's how we get access to the network, through the switch port. Secondly, switches are typically going to power the access point through that switch port, called Power over Ethernet. Let's do Cisco laptop now. Ooh, if I can type, there we go. We'll grab the laptop, and we're going to show, we'll put a label on there, Cisco laptop. Let's show that's connected wirelessly. So I will connect the two, but then I'm going to highlight that line, and let's come over here, and we're going to hit the drop down and try to go for like a dotted line. That kind of indicates it's wireless connection, if you will. Most people would understand that as such. There we go. Excellent. What I might want to do, it should be auto-saving for me, okay? What I might want to do at this point is double check to make sure everything's in the proper place, maybe move some things around if I need to. If I need to re-edit a label, if I double-click on, I can go in here and retype what I need to, okay? Once you have it all tweaked the way you like, we're going to export this so we have it for submission to D2L. So to get this ready for submission to D2L, again, double check, make sure everything's on here the way you like it. Maybe line things up if you need to. Get things straightened out if you need it straightened out or organized or whatever. All right. And then what we will do, is we're going to do File. And we're going to do export as, and let's do JPEG. That is just a simple graphic file that can be submitted to D2L. So we'll say export, and I'm going to draw. I can do it to my drive, but I'm actually going to do it to download. That way I have that to submit to D2L. So if I go to my downloads folder now, I'm going to my downloads folder. Okay, there's my diagram right there. If I double click on it, here is photos is fine. We'll open it with that. That's fine. There is my drawing, but in a graphic format, a picture format, if you will, that I can submit to D2L. And D2L won't complain at that because it does not understand a draw.io file. So please, when you're done, okay, when you have it the way you like, again, do File, Export as, JPEG, download it, and then that'll be a file you can submit right to D2L. So there is part 2 of our lab, doing this diagram right here. Next podcast, I'll show you the last diagram we need to make.